The following presentation is brought to you by the Alberta Podcast Network. Welcome to the Northern Nerdcast, the podcast that showcases the geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events in and around the city of Edmonton. Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Visit their website at albertapodcastnetwork.com. If you like the show, we invite you to share it on all of your social media platforms and help grow our community of geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events in and around the city of Edmonton. Would you like to be a contributor to the show? For more information, visit our website at northernnerdnetwork.com. And now, here's the host of the show, Dan Schessel.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, my name is Dan Schessel, and I am here today on the Northern Nerdcast, joined by two lovely ladies. And of course, we have none other than the co-hostess with the mostest. We got Chelsea Thompson joining us on the seat.
Hey, guys.
And we also have with us tonight, we have Lisa Pruden. Is it Pruden?
Yes, that's right.
I never asked this beforehand. So
that's all right.
Last names, I think, will be the bane of your existence for as long as we do this podcast.
I really don't need to say the last names. That's
They're
the
not
thing.
important.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're excited to have you here. We're going to be talking a bit about the Well Endowed Podcast, which is what you're a part of. So we're excited to learn more about that a little bit later on in the show here. But first off, we like to really get down to the really basically the soul of the people who come onto our show by asking everybody what's on your geek shelf. So, Lisa, what's on your geek shelf?
Well, recently, a new addition to our my geek shelf is the Lords of Waterdeep board game. And this is the new expansion. Well, I don't know if it's new. It's new to me expansion, Scoundrels of Skullport. And yeah, I can't get enough of this board game. I love it.
Okay, so let me ask you, what is like, because I haven't played Lords of Waterdeep. What are some of the mechanics? What makes this such a special game?
I like it. It has sort of like kind of a deck building component. Not really. It's a resource. You have to compile your resources and like plan how you're going to use them to get your victory points. But you have a very limited number of turns that you get to do that in. So it always leaves you wanting more because you get like 3 turns to know what your goals are in the game, what your what you need to do, and then you have like a few more turns to get the resources, and then like 2 to action everything and see how you end up. So by the time you're done it, you're like, well, I know what I'm going to do differently next time. It's great. I find it very addictive that way.
That's awesome. Yeah. Sorry about the camera there, folks. Fixed it. So yeah, that's awesome. I really haven't had a chance to play Lords of Waterdeep. That is one of those ones where I think it's definitely on my list. And so I think I might have to bump that one up and try that out now.
I would recommend it. Like, get a lot of snacks and plan a day because once won't be enough. You'll have to do it a few times.
Yeah, you got to go more than once.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so that's fantastic. Well, we're going to come back and we're going to chat a little bit more about some of the stuff you've been up to. But first off, we're going to talk a little bit to Chelsea here and find out what you've been up to. So, Chelsea, what have you been up to the last little while?
Yeah, I was away last week because I was doing a High Falls workshop. So those of you who listen and watch the show on a regular basis know that one of my hobbies is like stage combat and stunt work, which often, one of my loves is playing with swords, fighting with swords.
Mm-hmm.
But in Vancouver, I'm lucky enough to get to know and work with stunt people who work in the city and the film and television community. And one of the places that I occasionally go to train this past weekend just hosted a High Falls workshop. So we start with low stuff, learning how to fall down to the ground safely, and then learning how to do like partner falls, like how to sell if somebody tackles you or throws you or stuff like that. And then we worked our way up a ladder, starting on the lowest rung all the way up to, I think we got up to 13 feet on big crash mats. Front falls, back falls, headers, which is kind of like a somersault where you dive head first and then your feet come out. And yeah, lots of fun. I fell down a lot last week. That's why I wasn't on the show, because I was falling down.
That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun to be a part of. You get to do all sorts of fun stuff down there in Vancouver now.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I mean, I live with a fine gentleman, my boyfriend, who happens to be a stuntman in town. So I'm sort of lucky to go to classes with him and get to do a whole bunch of fun stuff. So yeah, pretty lucky that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We do have a comment here from one of our loyal listeners, from Aaron. He's saying that his geek shelf this week is teaching nuclear energy to Calgary Boy Scouts and Girl Guides.
Nice. It's Girl Guide cookie season. Are they paying you in cartons of cookies, Aaron? They better be. That better be like part of the payment, in addition to like whatever you're actually getting paid. There better be some Girl Guide cookies in that deal.
I would, yeah, for sure. Like that's gotta be a thing, right? All right.
How about you, Dan? How was your week?
I have had such. He needs the Thin Mints.
I'm with you on that one.
I had such a crazy busy week. First off, I had the pleasure to be on another podcast, which was the I Don't Get It podcast. And that was with oh no, I messed up her name on my thing. Sorry.
Is that Fonda Mithresh?
Yeah, Fonda. I don't know what happened there. That is not her name right there. Yes. And I'm telling you, it was such a great time. So I got to go to the production, and now I forgot his name because I just deleted all my notes there.
Would it be Andrew Paul?
No, I didn't get to talk with Andrew Paul. But I went to
it was Children of God at the Citadel, right?
No, there was Children of God at the Citadel, which was awesome, I heard. And that was pretty cool. Hang on 2 seconds as I have the thing right here. So I got to go to what's it called? Shoot. What am I doing? I had all this prepared. I'm telling you, I was not.
Your notes are betraying you.
Yeah, they are betraying me. There it is. So I got to go to do this in memory of me, and this one was it was kind of funny because it was done in French and in English. So they have two different versions that you could go to see this. Luckily, we went to the English one because I don't think I could have understood a word that they would have said in French. And I'm telling you, it was really well done. They had this crazy backdrop in the background that had like a projection on it, and it was I don't know how to explain it, but a lot of the scenery, the changes were all on this backdrop, and the main actor, like the main actress there, she never left the stage, and every time she would move, it would just kind of like smoothly transition her into a different like location, and you always knew where she was at any point in time. And essentially the story of the whole thing is she wants to be an altar server, and like back in it's like the early 1920s, I would say, somewhere around there. And the church is and this is at a Catholic church, and they are just dead set against her not being the altar server. And so there's other things that kind of happened to her along the way, and it was, like I said, it was a really well done production. I found it was incredible, but I don't want to give away too much. I want you to go out there. I want you to go find the I Don't Get It podcast. I want you to go download this episode, and then you can hear all my thoughts on that one. And so, yeah, go and check that out.
Is the show still playing, or has it closed?
I believe it's still playing.
Well, then
not for much longer.
Head on out there and see some live theater, because there's nothing quite like a live performance.
Yeah. And like I said, the way it was all shot, the way it was all done, it was just it's absolutely fantastic. I was super impressed by it. Yeah, for sure. I am getting rid of all my. I'm like, I don't see anything right now. I'm all over the map here. So I'm sorry, folks.
That's right. We'll get Lisa. Tell us about your week. What were you up to this week?
Oh, it was a great week. The early part of the week, we had some family in from out of town who are also big board game fans. So we spent a lot of time playing games with them and going out and eating food. And then I had a couple of days of being inside and quiet, which is how I like things. so yeah, it was a very lovely week, actually.
Nice. So,
all right.
Oh, do you have everything back now?
I got everything back. I also was able to, this weekend, I was able to go to be on another show, the Take 20. We've had them on the podcast once before. And so I actually got to go, and our friend JT, who we also had on the show, and I got to play some Dungeons and Dragons with these guys.
Yeah, you guys did a live play, right?
We did a live play right on Twitch. It was a lot of fun. And it was absolutely fantastic. JT and his wife is so lovely. It was just a great time. Go and check that out as well. I think if you go to Twitch, and look up Take 20, you'll find that one there. And I also we also had Pi Day also this week.
Mm-hmm.
And
you have a picture.
I do. Look
to
at this
make
thing.
us all envious.
This is how lovely my wife is.
That's
she
amazing.
makes me. I know, isn't it?
That's her scratch-made crust.
Yeah.
And cherries from a mutual friend's backyard.
Mm-hmm.
I have had Trina's homemade cherry pie before, and yes, you should be as envious as you think you should be looking at that picture, because it is that good.
It looks amazing.
It is. Yeah, I just want to eat it. It didn't last very long in our house. I could tell you that much.
No, she posted that picture of it not eaten on Facebook. Yeah. And then like less than an hour later, she posted a picture of like the empty pie plate.
But it was pretty much that way.
Just inhaled.
I don't think it was quite an hour, but yeah, it was pretty close. So yeah, it was a great pie. I love my wife's pie. It's an awesome thing. But the other thing I did manage to do, I also had a chance to play some board games this weekend. We got a chance to finally get Gloomhaven out on the table.
Nice.
But I want to say a really good friend of mine, and his name is Justin, and I want to say huge props to Justin because he did such a fantastic job with this. He actually built me a table. Wow. Look at like this.
You have an official games table now?
It's an actual official games table. It's a 4 foot by 4 foot like square table. Like this thing is huge. But not only that, now this is I like to say, hey, there's actually some pretty cool features attached to this table, which makes it like an awesome game table. So we have on my wall now, I have this kind of slot wall where I can hang all these little containers on the wall. But
dice and cards.
Yeah, you can keep dice and all sorts of little bits and stuff like that. I can keep it all in there. This is like all our characters and stuff like that in those little trays there. And if you're listening to the podcast, it's a slot wall with a little bit of trays, and I can keep my stuff in it. All right. And if once I start to play, I can take one of those containers, and I can actually hook it onto the table.
Nice.
So we are like, I'm like, this is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, he just came over. He brought me over this amazing looking table. So I gotta say thank you so much to Justin there, because it turned out really nice. And,
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
I'm pretty pumped for it. Now I'm like, now I gotta like do a show or something around this table, because I gotta get some good use out of it. Everything's about doing another show, right?
Yes.
My wife loves that so much. Hey, dear, I need to take some more time to go do something else.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to take a quick little break here.
Mhm.
And we'll be right back. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the ECF and the Well Endowed Podcast.
But first, we're going to shout out to the ECF and the Well Endowed Podcast. So the Northern Nerdcast is brought to you in part by the Edmonton Community Foundation. The Edmonton Community Foundation is a great way to put your money to work directly for charities that matter to you. The Edmonton Community Foundation will work with you to set up an endowment fund in your name. From that fund, we'll take any of the money that you put into the account, plus any money earned by the fund, and donate it to a charity of your choice. Now, you don't have to be rich to set up a fund. The ECF will work with you to put any donation amount you want into the account. Or you can get a group of people together and set up a fund collectively to give you a charity together. The ECF also has an awesome podcast that we're going to hear about from Lisa in a little bit. It's called the Well Endowed Podcast, and it's one of our fellow members on the Alberta Podcast Network. This month, I believe the Well Endowed Podcast is celebrating International Women's Day. Is that right, Lisa?
Yes, that's right.
So you got to chat with the Women Building Futures organization and Bev Esslinger and Sarah Hamilton, who are a couple of lady city counselors. Is that right?
That's right, too. And also the YWCA has an excellent counseling program, and so we hear about that as well.
Awesome. So be sure to tune in and check it out. To learn more about the Edmonton Community Foundation, check out their website, ecfoundation.org. Or to listen to the Well Endowed Podcast, head on over to the wellendowedpodcast.com or find them on your podcast player of choice.
All right. So we are talking about the Well Endowed today. The Well Endowed Podcast, that is. And we are so excited to have Lisa joining us to talk a little bit about it. And so we're going to start things off by quickly asking Lisa a little bit about the podcast itself. So Lisa, can you tell me, like, what is, like, for people out there, what is the Well Endowed Podcast?
Sure. So it's a podcast that's about all of the amazing organizations and people in the city that are working together to help make our city more accessible, strong, vibrant, generally. So we just highlight the organizations that our organization gets to work with or that we've helped fund. So we tell stories from that. And we also get to tell stories about the donors that help make that happen. So mostly it's just about how awesome Edmonton is.
Nice. So as fellow podcasters, we always like to hear how the podcasts that we have on as guests came about to being. So the Edmonton Community Foundation was up and running and working with all of these awesome charities and foundations and organizations. And how did the idea of a podcast come out of that? Where did that come from?
Well, it came from a bit when I first started there. It was in 2016, and the foundation was kind of gearing up for Canada 150. And so there was a lot of talk at our staff meetings about, like, what kind of projects could we do? And at that point, I had been at the foundation for about 6 months, and almost every day, or at least a couple of times a week, I'd hear about some organization doing something wonderful that I had no idea about before working there. So I was having this amazing wow factor of like, wow, I can't believe that's happening in our city too. Or how did I not know about this group of people? So when the staff was talking about what could we do for Canada 150, I thought, well, we could totally do a podcast about some of this awesomeness. So when I first thought of it, I kind of thought about it as like a little mini project to celebrate. And then the communications team were like, yeah, but there's a lot of stories though. Do you think we could like really do like a full podcast? And it was like, yes, please. Yes, please, can we? So I offered up my editing skills, and the communications team brought together their amazing experience and making things happen. That's very vague, but there was a lot that went into podcasting that I wasn't fully aware of. And as a team, we made it happen.
That's a recurring theme that we find talking to podcasters. It's just kind of like somewhere, the little voice in the back of your head is like, yeah, sure, let's make a podcast. And then you just kind of go and do it.
Yes. Yes. And then some magic happened. No, it was really good. I think we worked with a company called Kickpoint to help us with our website, and learned about how to host on the web and all of the little details like that I think maybe aren't as fun to talk about, but yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about, you mentioned that when the podcast first got started, you were still relatively new to the foundation itself. Can you tell us how you came across the foundation and what drew you to working there and the whole process of getting hired on there and that sort of all that jazz?
Yeah, I was working not in the nonprofit sector for a couple of years, and my heart was kind of missing it. I knew a fellow named Noel Xavier. We had both worked at the Art Gallery of Alberta some years before, and I saw on his LinkedIn that an opening at the ECF was happening, and I thought, wow, that looks pretty cool. And I did a little bit of research into the organization, and it was amazing looking. So I put in my application and did the usual couple of interviews, and was very delighted when they hired me aboard. It was amazing.
Nice. So in the time that you've been working at the foundation and the podcast has been up and running, and you've been having all of these great organizations that you work with on as guests, because there are so many amazing stories that I guess you get to tap into in the city, this might be a hard question to narrow down, but have there been one or two that sort of stand out in your mind where you finished the podcast and you were like, oh, that was just so awesome?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of them. One that stands out for me was the Welka story. So that's terrible. I can't remember the whole acronym, but we have an entire equine center downtown in Edmonton. And before we had them on the show, I had no idea that for like a long time, we've had this entire center devoted to horseback riding and teaching people to ride. And it's such an inclusive space for people of all abilities. And
they run the Little Bits program out of there, right?
They run that. And so that was one where we went and saw the new facility, and my mind was totally blown that was something that existed 5 minutes away from where I lived, and I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you really aren't paying attention to it, it's sort of nestled down along Fox Drive just as you come past Snow Valley. And if you're driving along on your everyday commute, because it's kind of right next to the park that's just in there, you can kind of whiz by it without even realizing what it actually is or what's there or what they're doing, or
Totally, yeah. And I think the other one that really stands out for me was we did a queer history tour with Darren Hagen, and that was a blast. And so I think what we have posted for the episode is a half-hour condensed version of it, but we got to spend like a full morning with Darren, just learning about all of these amazing things and seeing the city from a perspective that we otherwise wouldn't have. So that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, he's a great Edmonton staple in the theater community. And actually, I got to toss this little anecdote out there. So Trina, Dan's wife, who's the executive producer of the show and lines up all our awesome guests, Trina and I met in grade 10 math class, and one of the very first times we ever like hung out outside of school, we went to see a Darren Hagen drag show.
That's
pretty great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now that's a good way to bond over a brand new freshly minted friendship there.
Yep. It was so much fun. It was hilarious. He's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We do have a comment here. Is it the White Mud Equine Center Association?
Yes, that's the one. Thanks, Don.
Right on. That's awesome. Okay. So can I ask you, because you're still part of the Edmonton Community Foundation. Is there a certain charity that for you personally that you've always been fond of yourself?
I have to admit that no, I hadn't been drawn to just one charity before. So for me, my volunteering and donating would be just whatever fit at the time. So it was just kind of like, oh, this is cool. I'll do that for a bit.
So the ECF is kind of an awesome fit for you because it's like the smorgasbord of charities, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like seeing all these other things where it's like, wow, that's amazing. So yeah, I didn't have just one. There's certainly now one of the things I've really taken away from is like how all of these organizations work together with each other. Like there's just so many amazing people, and like I didn't fully realize the networking and the teamwork and collaboration that was happening between all of these organizations, and that was cool to learn.
Yeah, that's kind of like what we keep finding with pretty much almost everything that happens in and around Edmonton. It's a lot bigger than a lot of people may expect.
Well, and how many different communities and different groups of people from so many different walks of life are actually so interconnected in the city.
Yeah.
Which makes my heart so happy.
Right? Yeah, it's very cool. My spouse always describes it as like a big small town.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I love Edmonton, and I will always refer to it as my hometown, even though I live far afield now. Edmonton is always home. It always will be. And that's definitely one of the reasons I love it as a city, is that, you can come home and it's always growing and expanding and getting bigger and making strides on the world stage. But the sense of community that exists there makes it feel smaller and more personal, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the fact that like there's so much happening within the city of Edmonton. The more I learn of the city, the more I get surprised by various things that are around me. Is there something that may have surprised you, like, oh, I didn't know that even existed here?
Yes. Sorry, I'm going to have a pause now because always the first thing that comes to mind. But the other one was SAGE, which again, the acronym is going to, I can't do it. It's like a seniors association. But SAGE, like every year, SAGE publishes this really thick, giant book of resources and organizations that seniors can use. And again, does a lot of community building and networking for that particular community. And I think seniors are one of those demographics that I think are often overlooked, especially in just like daily conversation. So to see an organization that is so comprehensive in their outreach to it was really cool.
Yeah, it's the Seniors Association of Greater Edmonton.
Yes, thank you guys. Google.
That's awesome.
I consulted the great Oracle. Told me everything I needed to know.
Let me ask you this: is there like a myth or something about like the Edmonton Community Foundation that people may believe that is just completely untrue?
I think one that comes to mind is that it's a bunch of old rich people that are engaging and donating and doing the work or participating with the organization, and that is so not the case. Certainly we do have rich older people who are helping and donating. I'm not saying they're not there, but there are a lot of it's a very diverse group, both on the donor and volunteer side with our committees, and again also with the organizations that we work with. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. I think people see that organization or our organization and kind of go, I don't know if I would really fit into participating with that. And I think a lot of people would be surprised to find that, yes, there's probably a niche for you. There's probably an organization that you would feel passionate about that, yeah, we'd be happy to chat with. So
speaking of which, I know the list is gigantic of the organizations that you work with and across the city, but are there any particular ones that have any big events coming up, or any ones that you want to talk about or highlight at the moment, or want to give a shout out to?
I'm afraid I'm woefully unprepared for that. I'm sure that there are a ton of events happening for many of our organizations, but I'm not completely in the know on that front. Sorry.
No worries.
One of the things I can do after for the show notes is I can send our Granting in Action booklet, and that just kind of lists all of the organizations that we funded, and then people can take a look, and that's a good little litmus for just what's out there in our city and what kind of organizations are doing what. Nice.
So after listening to this show and after listening to you debunk that you don't have to be an old rich person to get involved, if people are a little curious, can you shed a little light on like the process of like becoming a donor or maybe becoming a volunteer, or what that is like?
Absolutely. So I can shed some light on the donor part, because it's a little bit braggy, but I got to start my own fund.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I was very, very excited to do it. And the process was really, really easy, and would be the same for someone not working there. And that was, I talked to Noel. So we have Noel and Matt in our donor services team. And they work with people to help make their, donating dreams come true. But yeah, I said to Noel, I think I want to start a fund, and he had a little meeting with me so we could brainstorm about what my hopes and dreams were for what I wanted the fund to do. And he, took all of that information in and went and found a couple of organizations that might be able to help facilitate that fund for me, and wrote up the agreement and all the information to make sure he understood what I wanted. And then all I had to do was sign, and it's off and running. So it's going to be, I think, about 8 years before it emerges. And that means like 8 years before I reach the $10,000 mark, where it starts gifting and granting to people. But yeah, in that time.
You've got your little seed, right?
Yeah, I got a little seed going, and I'm very excited to see how that comes together. And again, very delighted at it was very fun and very easy. And I really encourage people that if you're curious about it, just reach out and ask, and it's fine if it doesn't happen, but we're happy to chat.
Nice.
That's awesome. So let me it's exciting to hear the various stories of seeing and hearing all the different communities and things that you say that they come together. I'm just excited about this whole, like the whole prospect of the ECF just even existing. Do you even know where the ECF came from? Like, how did that? Can you tell us some of the origins from behind that?
I should be able to, and I'm not going to be able to. Worst employee ever. I think it was a group of families in Edmonton who wanted to get this going. And so I know one of them was the Poole family. And there were a few other families that did the initial donations to establish the ECF. And that is sadly the extent of my knowledge there. Sorry.
That's all good. So let me just ask you quickly, where can people find the ECF? Where can people find the Well Endowed Podcast?
Oh man, people can find the ECF at ecfoundation.org. And of course, we have a little, under our About menu, we have a little how ECF came to be. We have a timeline. So it can answer what I couldn't. And you can find us on Twitter at the ECF. And yeah, that's where we live. Oh, and the Well Endowed Podcast is thewellendowedpodcast.com.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, can you give our listeners a little taste? So after listening to this and they're like, yeah, all this sounds awesome, I want to tune in. Can you give them a little taste of sort of this month's podcasts, all of the awesome women that you were talking to this month for International Women's Day?
Sure. So we had 3 interviews. We had 3 stories. And we got to sit down with counselors Bev Esslinger and Sarah Hamilton.
Which I actually know Bev quite well.
Oh, cool.
She is such a nice lady.
Yeah, she was lovely to speak with. So our host Elizabeth led the interview, and yeah, they had some really encouraging things to say about women who might want to enter and be in politics and some of the challenges that come up, but really a strong positive message of the value of just trying, just giving it a go, and being okay with maybe not getting it right the first time, which is something that resonates with me. I'm not great with mistake making. So that was a really lovely interview to be a fly on the wall for. And yeah, talking with the YWCA about their counseling program. I wasn't aware of their counseling. This is another one of those examples. I wasn't aware of their counseling program before. But yeah, they make professional PhD level counseling available to the women in the city who might need access to it. Unfortunately, there's quite a wait list. There's such a huge demand, but yeah, it's a really important and strong program that is helping women be empowered in who they are and helping them walk through some new life changes and courses.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, do you want to take another quick little break there, Chelsea?
Yes, indeed. What are you going to tell us about, Dan?
We are going to talk a little bit about the Alberta Podcast Network. And, we'll be right back. Okay, so the Northern Nerd Network is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATV. And if you guys go over to the Alberta Podcast Network.com, you will find a list of amazing Alberta-made podcasts. And they're not just from Edmonton; they're from all over the province. And
growing like crazy. We've got Calgary, we've got Fort McMurray, and more to come, right?
Oh, yeah. And one of the podcasts is the I Don't Get a Podcast, which I was a part of just recently. So go check that one out. And also you guys can go check out, say, Future Chat, which I also may be a part of in the next little while. as well. I'm just going to be on all the podcasts eventually.
Well, and we'll have them all on our show. This is one of my favorite things that I'm finding about since we joined the network is getting to meet awesome people like Lisa, who are fellow podcasters on the network, who we otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet. And it's been awesome, getting to talk to other podcasters and have them as guests on our show and be guests on their show. And yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic, and the collaboration between the podcasters in the network has been just fantastic. So go on over to albertapodcastnetwork.com to find out all of the amazing podcasts that are Alberta made. Okay.
Now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show.
Yes.
Tell us all the things, Dan. Tell us where we can go and be big, giant nerds. Where can we go? What can we do?
I will tell you all of the things. All of the things. Hang on 2 seconds. I will tell you all the things in a couple of seconds.
As soon as I pull up my magical thing-telling calendar.
Yes. So we got on... Ooh, that's in the wrong spot. So we have on March 21st coming up here, we have Slam Off, which is the Edmonton Story Slam Society. And this is going to be happening at the Mercury Room on Wednesday at 7 to 10. So if you are into storytelling, I believe this is like the big storytelling finale competition. 5 minutes, 5 audience judges, total glory. It's going to be awesome. So if you're into a little bit of storytelling, you never know what you're going to get with these amazing storytellers. So go and check that out. And the talent there is absolutely fantastic. And so it's always a good time. So go check that out. And that is the Slam Off, the Story Slam on March 21st at the Mercury Room. Moving along, on March 30th, we have Video Games Live in Edmonton. If you like video games, if you like music, if you like the music in the video games, this is the chance to go and experience that with the orchestra. There's all sorts of stuff going on. It's going to be awesome.
Are you going to see that, Dan?
I really want to, but I don't know if I can or not yet. So yeah, March 30th.
Grandma to take Trina on a date night.
I was thinking about that actually. That's coming up right away here. So that's March 30th. Go check that out. And this is happening at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium. Moving along, we have on April 7th, we have How to Start a Podcast from Notion to Reality. And so if you're one of those people that have just kind of been sitting on the fence and saying, I don't know if I really want to. And even if you got that little bit of an idea, I was like, maybe I can make this work.
Or one of our listeners and viewers who turn in and are like, oh my God, I could do so much better than Dan and Chelsea.
Yes. If you're out there and you're like, yeah, I could definitely outdo these guys. Yeah, this is the chance. This is How to Start a Podcast from Notion to Reality. And this is happening on April 7th. And this is happening right at the CKUA radio network, that station there. And it's just off Jasper Ave, for those of you who don't know where it is. And so we're moving along to April 8th. We got Girls Learning Code, graphic design, and with Canva and Scratch. I don't know what Canva or Scratch is, but I'm assuming that they're programming languages that I see. I don't even know how to write code. So this sounds like a lot of fun. So if you're interested in learning how to just do graphic design and you're a girl, this is the chance. This is for you. So go check that out. Moving along. Oh, and this is happening at Jobber. I don't know what Jobber is. It's on Jasper Ave, apparently. Moving along, we have April 18th. Sorry. We got the Jurassic Park Lego and Trivia Night.
What?
I know. I saw Lego and Jurassic Park in the same sentence.
and I
had to put it in. right? Like there's no not putting this one in. So yeah, April 18th we got and this is going to be happening at MKT Beer Market. This is being put on by Yeg Date or Yeg Date Night, I believe it is.
Nice.
And so if you want to, do a little bit of maybe Jurassic Park trivia, some Lego, you want to go on that special date that's kind of different, this is it. I mean, dinosaurs, Lego, it's a win. Yeah. Moving along, we have moving into actually May, we have IntrigueCon, which is happening on May 4th and 5th. And I know it's not announced right now, but I will be doing a round of Star Wars RPG there. So if you want me to
Are you going to GM it?
Yes, I am GMing.
Nice.
So if you want me to be the GM to your Star Wars, I am going to be doing one. So get out there, get registered. I'm telling you in advance so that when the thing goes up, you can sign up. All right.
Up on that. And I can tell you from personal experience, as someone who has played under Dan as a GM, he always plans a super fun game. You never know what's going to happen next. So you should totally do that.
This is true because I don't even know what's going to happen next.
Which is why you're such a good GM, because you're kind of like, yeah, all right,
Yeah,
sure, roll for it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So that's all we got here. No, you cannot roll by Jar Jar. Sorry. I don't know who this Jar Jar character is that you speak of. No, I'm just kidding. You could be whatever you like.
This is not the character.
This is not the character you want or you're looking for. So yes, that is going to be happening on May 4th and 5th. So thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us tonight. It was absolutely fantastic having you on the show today. I learned so much about the Edmonton Community Foundation. I learned so much about the Well Endowed Podcast, which, by the way, is going to help us later on so that we can do our ads a little bit better.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
One last time before we let you go, where can the good people find the ECF and the Well Endowed Podcast on the web so they can come and check out all the goodness you have to offer?
Absolutely. Well Endowed Podcast is at thewellendowedpodcast.com. You can find ECF at ecfoundation.com.
Oh, you broke up. Oh.
So close.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
So
that was heartbreaking.
Lisa, we lost you. I will finish for her. ecfoundation.org.
Yes. And it's the ECF on Twitter. So yeah, go check that out. Go and support the Edmonton Community Foundation. Go support your favorite charities.
I think she's back.
Yeah,
are you back?
Sorry, did I freeze out?
You did. Just as you were finishing the end of the website, we were like, no.
Well, it sounds like you guys caught it up there, so thank you.
Yes. All right, and we will also make sure that we put it down in the show notes after the show. Mm-hmm. All right. So I want to thank you once again. Thank you, Chelsea, for joining us again. And I want to thank everybody out there for watching and or listening to this episode of the Nerdcast. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Northern Nerdcast. Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Check out their website at albertapodcastnetwork.com. For all things geeky and nerdy, including all of our social media platforms, go to northernnerdnetwork.com. Thanks again, and we appreciate your support.